Well, so how's it going?
It's going fine. I'm feeling
You
better
sick?
than last week.
That's good.
Yeah, you said you had a cold. How are you?
Yeah, just kind of very much in the background though.
Mm.
Also taking like an immunosuppressant drug, so uh, you know, it kind of has made this cold that I had that was just on its last legs, just kind of linger.
Hmm.
Yeah, you said the day wasn't too stressful. There weren't too many people on staff, but still you were able to there was no major emergencies or anything.
No, yeah, so it was as good as a short staff day could go.
Yeah, it's good. Well, so we just read the story of the goat and her seven little kids.
Hmm.
Uh, do you want to summarize that story?
Yeah, so there was a mother goat with 7 kids, and one day she decided to go to the forest to get food. And before she left, she warned the kids to not open the door to the wolf, and they agreed to do that, to not do so. And after she left, the wolf came several times to try to persuade them to open the door. And he would do things like soften his voice or make his paws white to try to convince them that he was their mother. And for the first several times, they refused because they knew that wasn't their mother. But once he made his paws wide after threatening a miller, um, with he threatened the miller with devouring them. So the miller agreed, even though he didn't want to initially because he knew of his intentions. But the miller eventually helped him paint his paws white, and after that, the wolf came again for the last time and stuck his paws in the window, and they were convinced that uh, it was their mother asking them to open the door. And after they opened the door, they were several of the kids were eaten by the wolf, except for one that hid somewhere in the house. And the mother came back and realized that all her kids were gone except for one. So she and that kid found the wolf napping under a tree, and they opened up the wolf and rescued all of the kids. And they replaced the kids in the stomach with some rocks and sewed him back up. And when the wolf woke up, it felt very heavy and decided to go drink some water in the lake. And the rocks were so heavy that it pulled the wolf into the lake and it drowned. And after that, the goat, mother goat, and the kids were relieved and happy.
Yeah, yeah. She had gone out. She had warned them what to watch out for with the goat. And it it would have a rough voice or it would have black paws. And then yeah, that's what he like disguised first the voice, and then by swallowing a lump of coal, and then the paws by covering them with flour or something like that.
Mm.
And it's funny that he was thirsty from having stones in his stomach, so then he went to drink water. Yeah, what do you think about that story?
Mm. I'm not so sure what to think of it. I feel like with this one, the lessons aren't as immediately clear to me. Uh, it seems like well, maybe, I don't know if it's about some sort of justice or something for wrongdoing. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
certainly.
yeah, and I don't know, maybe just. maybe he's trying to teach kids about the dangers, I guess, that they should watch out for when their parents aren't nearby. Uh, do you have any ideas?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of justice, it's the punishment equal the crime in a way.
Mm,
He ate six children. He got six big stones in his stomach. It's interesting that he doesn't wake up when they're cutting him open. I guess in a way he was so drunk with his you know, uh feast that he maybe it says something about his sort of, yeah, greediness. Yeah, punishment to fit the crime. He
mm,
ate. There's like a lot of like this happens and then this sort of mirror image thing happens in the story.
mhm,
Like mother goes out and then wolf comes, you know. Wolf is like the opposite image of the mother, like at the door. um yeah, wolf eats the kids, and then wolf has like a bunch of stones in his stomach. Wolf is empty, stomach is empty, so he goes to drink water, and then he fills the well. I don't know. And that is kind of what justice is, isn't it? Like a kind of uh yeah, a mirror, you do a crime and then your punishment is like a dark mirror image of
mm.
that crime. Not exactly like an eye for an eye kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe kind of like restoring a balance, I guess.
Yeah. Also, it reminded me maybe of that mythology story where I think Kronos
Mm,
or Uranus, I can't remember, Zeus's father. I think Kronos like eats all of his children, but then uh, somebody substitutes like a stone for Zeus or something like that, and he ends up vomiting up the children. I wonder if this is some kind of vague shadow of that story. I think stories come down to us through time.
yeah. I vaguely remember one where I think maybe like Athena like got out or something, like cut her way out of
She
one
came
of the
out of like
waters.
Zeus's
Yeah.
forehead. I think she was
Mm,
like he had a really bad headache. She came out of his forehead or something,
yeah.
fully grown or something.
Mm,
Yeah, you and I have talked about capital punishment before. In a way, that is like an eye for an eye, like I think almost all people on death row have been convicted of killing someone or some people. And I guess maybe that's the idea of capital punishment is like an eye for an eye.
mm.
You take a life, now your life will be taken. Maybe some people even if you see uh you know uh, the justice system not as about punishment, but as about what's the word I'm looking for here?
I don't know. I'm just thinking of what I said earlier, of just restoring balance in some sort of way.
Yeah. So, but yeah. But do you think what do you think about capital punishment, or what do you think about restoring balance or an eye for an eye?
Mm, it's like I feel like there's just been crimes that are just so terrible that I have a hard time seeing an alternative than punishment that's fitting.
Yeah, punishment fits the crime. There's kind of, yeah, we always have this idea of kind of proportionality in some way, but some crimes it's hard to be proportional, I guess, and be civilized. I mean, in a long time ago, people used to torture people
Mm,
before they killed them.
yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of think of maybe like serial cult killers or just people that actually seem to get like enjoyment out of what they're doing.
That
And
is pretty disturbing, yeah. And you
uh,
could see how like justice would be partially about, yeah, expressing disgust at that level of, sadism.
yeah, it's that too. But I think for such people, it's really hard to keep others safe from them. Like at that point, if they're really not built that way mentally, is I just don't see like a reasonable alternative we have, I guess, to keep others safe.
Well, they keep others safe. I mean, isn't that a different story? I mean, we're not talking about letting people go who did, heinous crimes. It's more like to kill them or to leave them in jail for the rest of their life.
Yeah, but I'm thinking maybe other prisoners. Maybe I don't know. But that's kind of like a secondary thing, I guess. But I just yeah, I think it's just because I don't again like I'm just kind of I don't know what else might be better. Because I think part of it is also I guess there's always those people that are actually remorseful and maybe want to redeem themselves, even if it's just from a jail cell and for the rest of their life. Like there's something there to salvage, I guess, in that person. But yeah, I don't know about people that just aren't that way.
I mean, presumably someone who's a psychopath or something that really doesn't have remorse or
Yeah,
compassion and
yeah,
won't be contrite at all.
yeah. So I guess just another part of another question I'm kind of thinking of is what to do with the psychopath in that kind of situation.
Well, yeah. I mean, it seems like you could say, well, killing them or keeping them in jail for the rest of their lives. What's the real difference anyway?
Mm,
Or what's the point of capital punishment if well, I guess presumably they would rather not be killed than just to sit in jail the rest of their life. So
mm.
it
I guess
inflicts more suffering on them.
I guess a large part of it is maybe for the family or for the public mostly to maybe satisfy their feelings and
Yeah,
emotions.
yeah. For them to feel like this person has had the ultimate sort of justice or revenge put on them. I guess, yeah, from the perspective of a really affected victim, including the families. I mean, they would maybe get some satisfaction from that person being killed. There's some kind of something like a sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess then we could ask why is that important or how is it useful for society? Um, and I would think if we don't, the state doesn't have that, maybe we'll, well, maybe it'll feed vigilantism, and that's a much less regulated channel of kind of seeking that kind of justice. Uh,
You're talking about when people take revenge for their family member or something.
yeah, yeah,
But presumably I mean, they're not supposed to do that either.
yeah, they're not supposed to. But that's why I'm thinking if we had no capital punishment, maybe we would see more dissatisfaction rising from those feelings of justice not being satisfied. And then we could see like an increase in that vigilantism, and that would be more detrimental to society than having capital punishment.
The problem that we do because people, if we don't do it, people will do a version of it
Mm,
illegally, you know.
yeah.
But then again, that is what some laws or politics is about, maybe some kind of there's something barbaric that rises up from, you know, the unconscious, but we make a civilized version of it, maybe like in a symbol, uh, you know, maybe an example of that is like how we have sports like football, which are like ritualized
Mm,
and less dangerous warfare, or combat sports instead of fighting or warfare. But yeah, sometimes you can have symbols, and killing, the state killing a person is like taking, is still killing them. It's making people feel powerful against this entity that has done terrible harm, and crushing that entity in response as a kind of justice. But the state doing that is makes it more sanitized and makes one feel like the state has protected one, I guess.
mhm,
It's like a sort of like self-defense or something. Like the
mhm.
state is defending you, not self-defense. The state takes the that power from people, but it still uses that power to very harsh ends.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as maybe like quelling the inner chimp we have that could lead to like societal destabilization.
The inner chimp is more, by that you sort of mean the id, is more satisfied by something being killed than not. And if the state does it, at least then it'll keep people from feeling that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are darker sorts of emotions that exist within people, and you don't always want to let those out, but maybe some people would argue that sometimes you do need some kind of representation of that, or some kind of outlet for that that's more sanitized but still somewhat, you know, satisfying without the consequences, the same consequences that that the more quote natural action would have. How do you feel about those people on death row, though, that end up being exonerated of the crime?
Mhm. Well, I'd have to be on a case by case basis because I don't think I could generalize all of them. Um, but I think maybe for some, just the stress of death looming at any time is punishment enough. Um, but I think there'd be others where maybe my inner chimp is kind of pissed off. Yeah, or kind of disappointed that they didn't get punished. Yeah.
No,
Um,
no, I mean, yeah, I mean, exonerated means they did not do the crime.
oh, they did not.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, then I know sometimes getting exonerated just means there wasn't enough evidence, right? I'm not so sure. Um,
but
but assuming,
but the, the,
eh, yeah, like well, I guess assuming some of those people actually weren't as culpable or innocent, I would feel relieved and kind of mark, yeah, and I would kind of think of the failures that went into that. Um, so it's not a perfect system. There's,
you sort of feel or think just still better to have capital punishment. It sort of is very maybe satisfying for the general public, for people who could feel like victims of a crime or victims of crime in general or victims of brutality. Like you still think it's worth it, even though there probably would be some fault, some wrong convictions.
mm, I don't know, because I feel there will always be times where I feel where it's worth it, but then there will come those times when we turned out people were wrong, and that at that point it won't feel worth it. So I feel like it's always changing. It'll always change, and I feel like it can't. I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to kind of answer that. So I feel like it's gonna be those feelings will be changing all the time in a way.
Do you think one of the biggest differences is between people who have experienced crime, who have been a victim of a crime, and those who have not?
Mm. Are you asking about what I think the differences are?
No, if that is a bit, is that one of the most important differences between people and how they feel about crime and punishment?
I feel that might factor in a lot.
Because I wonder the discussion that we're having, the psychology involved, like it just might be very different for someone who has experienced a crime, you know,
Mm,
if their body has been very vulnerable, attacked,
mhm,
threatened, if they've been scared for their life, or they thought
mm,
even that they were gonna die, or, you know, one away from that, just like people whose family member have been killed
mm.
or something, you know.
Yeah. It's like I feel when you haven't been a crime victim, it's a lot easier to just operate on a theoretical frame of mind. And
Yeah,
and that kind of creates a detachment, I think.
yeah,
Um, which I think makes it easy to fall into maybe not having so much sympathy for people that are for capital punishment. Uh, Meanwhile, I think
or
people that aren't,
that's
yeah, I think people. Yeah, and meanwhile, I think people that have been victims of crime like actually go through all of that stress, not just mentally, but like physiologically, and they feel it with their whole mind and body, I think. And I would think that experience makes it a lot easier to agree with capital punishment. But at the same time, though, I think those kinds of experiences would maybe kind of make such people maybe less sympathetic to people to like cases where we the wrong person does end up being on death row. Um, so I don't think it's I think it comes with his cons too.
Yeah, yeah, we all have skin. I mean, we all have skin in the game when it comes to crime, but yeah, we maybe feel that to different degrees. And like you said, some people maybe have unrealistic ideas because because they haven't had they can't imagine or they don't have the right experience. Some people might also be too sort of scared, or too close to it. This seems like a hard one.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a very complicated topic. I feel like going for either side is kind of missing out on this whole like the complexity.
Okay, well, it's getting pretty late. Do you want to call it a day for now?
Hmm.
Okay, maybe we'll talk more about the agreements next week. Well, thank you for talking with me.
You're welcome.